Hi, I'm Bill Dragoo with D.A.R.T. Welcome to Overland Expo. Well, actually, welcome to my shop here in Norman, Oklahoma. I wish we could be with you in person, but as a consolation, we've prepared some examples of what we do in our training at Overland Expo and beyond. We're going to talk about what D.A.R.T. believes are the four cornerstones of successful adventure riding: balance, control, judgment, and attitude. Balance being that ability to keep the motorcycle upright by whatever means we can. Control, the ability to manipulate the controls on the motorcycles, the clutch, brakes, throttle, even our foot pegs for partial steering to help us maintain the balance. And then judgment, the J factor we call it. Should I go? Should I not? Should I go around this particular obstacle? Maybe I've learned the skills to do this and I just need to have the confidence that I can. And then attitude, our ability to try to lean towards the happy side of the continuum that we operate within. Sometimes we can't. We are in a downward spiral, and maybe a buddy can come up and put a hand on a shoulder and say, hey, I know this stinks. You dented your tank, you broke your arm, this is a bad day for you, but we're going to get you home. We're not going to leave you here. And think of the stories that you'll have to tell whenever we get you there. So all of this comes together through this series of exercises that we do. They're very progressive. We're going to talk about loose hill starts, we're going to talk about Enduro Steering, we're going to talk about Counterweight Turns, and even failed hill recoveries. So we've broken this down for you. We're going to have some fun with this, so come on and join us. Let's do it. Enduro Steering. This is also known as peg weight steering. We steer the motorcycle primarily by pressing the foot pegs in the direction we want it to go. We might lean our body the opposite direction a little bit, because in a low traction environment where we normally are off-road, if the motorcycle is leaning and we're leaning with that motorcycle and it slides, you can see there's not much there to keep us from falling all the way down. But if the motorcycle is leaning and we're leaning the other way just a little bit, the motorcycle falls, it's easy for us, or if it slides, it's easy for us to go with it as it's beginning to slide to the outside. So we've got a course laid out here with cones that are offset about 6 feet from each other. We're going to ride to the right of the first cone. You'll see me press on the left peg. My body will remain more or less upright as the motorcycle makes the turn, and vice versa. When this is done well, you feel the dance. That's what we're looking for. We want to feel the dance as we're making this motion back and forth. Press, press, turn, turn. Just turning the bars enough that the front wheel agrees with the direction that we've asked the motorcycle to go when we press the foot pegs. It's a lot of fun. Here we go. Something you might have noticed as we were making these peg weight turns, this Enduro Steering, is the body position. And you're going to notice later when we do counterweight turns that the body position is very similar. So what's the difference? Well, the primary difference is where we're applying pressure with our foot pegs. When we're making a left turn doing Enduro Steering, we're applying pressure to that left foot peg, and it rolls us into the turn. And then we simply begin to make the turn in the other direction by applying pressure with the opposite peg, rolling the other way. Later, whenever you see us doing counterweight turns, we'll start the same way. We apply pressure to the inside of the turn, and then whenever we are established in the turn, we begin to apply pressure to the outside foot peg. And there'll be more on that in the counterweight turns. So Enduro Steering, press the direction you want to go, feel the dance, enjoy the process. It's a lot of fun. Now let's talk about the slow race. How do we make a motorcycle go as slow as possible without falling over or putting down a foot? We'll introduce a couple of concepts here to help you with that. One is called clutch, not crutch. When we were somewhere between 6 and 18 months old probably, we first let go of that coffee table, we learned to put a foot out there to catch ourselves. Eventually we got good at it. We've done that our whole lives. Now we're going to have to retrain a little bit. Instead of using the crutch, our leg, to catch ourselves, we're going to use the clutch. We will engage the clutch slightly with just enough throttle if the motor doesn't stall, that regains our balance. And then we're going to talk about bike intention. This is a tension between the clutch throttle, that partnership, just enough throttle that the motorcycle doesn't die, just enough clutch that we can pick the bike up again, and the rear brake. We can use either brake for this, but initially we'll use the rear brake because it helps with stability. The front's a little bit higher level concept. So watch how this works as we're moving very, very slowly in a straight line. Picture two friends standing facing each other on a set of railroad tracks. One might be the clutch throttle, the other might be the brake. They're leaning together with their hands touching one another, and they're walking sideways. As long as they work in harmony with one another, just enough clutch throttle, just enough brake, they can continue to work their balance back and forth. If you stomp on the brake, totally release the brake unexpectedly, add or take away too much clutch throttle, then you can lose stability there, and one or both can fall. So here we go. We'll demonstrate this partnership going in a relatively straight line and then maybe in some slight turns as we come towards the camera. Stick with us. Maintain a neutral body position, eyes slightly forward, lightly dragging the brake against the clutch and throttle. Anytime there's an urge to put down a foot, instead release the clutch. Use the clutch, not the crutch. You can see my toe lightly pressing on the rear brake pedal, the brake light staying on almost constantly. It goes off when I release it to regain balance. 2 fingers on the clutch, the other 2 around the hand grip to maintain control of the handlebars. Practice this until you're smooth and fluid. Counterweight turns. This is one of my favorites. This is actually a competition-winning skill. When you learn the level of balance and control that's required to maneuver these big motorcycles in super tight, super close quarters without dragging your feet, putting them down, you might have to run over little berms or through little soft dirt or rocks or whatever, but you can keep that motorcycle in balance the whole time. You can do phenomenal things with it. So this little corral is actually the starting gate here at Oklahoma Motorsports Complex. It's a place that motorcycles come in and they make this great big U-turn. But for us, we're going to come in and make a double tight U-turn in reverse and go back the other direction. It's really tough on these big bikes to do that. The BMW R1200 and 1250 GSs have a pretty tight turning radius, so that helps you a little bit. But unless you can commit to that turn and keep that motorcycle in balance while you're leaning it, you still won't make it. Counterweight turns. We have 2 square boxes adjacent to each other. They form a rectangle. Within each square box, there's a center cone. We're going to enter the box, making a left turn around the first center cone, and then a right turn around the second center cone, and then an exit. We'll have formed a figure 8. In this exercise, we're going to concentrate on a couple of specifics. Body position. We're going to be counterweighted. Our weight will be on the outside foot peg as we make the turn. If I'm turning left, most of my weight will be on my right foot peg. As I'm turning right, most of my weight will be on my left foot peg. Initially, I will of course weight the inside peg as I roll in. So there's kind of a little dance, a little transition here. Notice my eye position. I'm looking ahead to determine my path of travel, and then body position for the counterweighting. This should be fun. balance, control, judgment, and attitude. We talked earlier about how we would put all of these things together to create our riding habits, to create a successful adventure ride. Well, you've seen some of the balance and control being applied. These are all tools that we put inside of one big tool bag. We want to know how each one works. We want to know how to reach in and find it by feel and then put it into use without having to look at it and analyze it and question it, but it's simply there for us the instant that we need it. So the balance is aided by our ability to manipulate the controls. Even the foot pegs become controls as we weight the inside peg to start a turn, or we weight the outside peg to cancel a turn or to counterbalance the motorcycle and help it hold it at a greater lean angle within that turn. And then we talked about judgment and attitude. We're well within the realm of where most of us should be with our judgment. These are fairly benign exercises, but we want to come in beneath wherever your skill level is and lift you up. So if these seem a little bit easy, practice them and be just as smooth and as perfect as you can possibly be with them. And then you'll get better. Your confidence level will grow. If we start too high, if we start too hard, that will drive our confidence down. But these same skills apply in rocks and sand and whatever environment that we're in. Our ability to manage the control of this motorcycle in the ways that we've demonstrated will work for you. We're going to do a little freestyle right over here, and we're going to just do some ups and downs and some stops and things like that on a slightly off-camber surface, and you can begin to see how these interplay. More fun. Here we go. Precision riding is fun. It looks good when you do it, and everything you do at low speed translates to riding well at higher speeds. It's amazing how much enjoyment you can get out of your motorcycle just in a small area. Technical riding on big bikes. Who'd have thought it? Think about how it looks to others when we're riding too. We're ambassadors for our sport. What kind of mark do we leave on the terrain? What kind of impression do we leave on the minds of those who see us ride and see where we've been? All of our skills come together here in one nice tight package. This exercise is called the loose hill start. In this particular situation, we're simulating a loose hill, maybe marbles, shale, it could be hard-packed surface, might even be mud. But whatever the situation is, we've got to get the motorcycle moving back up that hill. So in order to demonstrate, we're going to use this helmet as a prop. Consider that this helmet weighs 100 pounds, and I'm trying to launch it stiff arm as far as I can. But if I simply swing it, it's not going to go very far. But if I give it a couple of swings back and forth before I release it, then I can actually get quite a bit of distance out of it. Well, it's the same thing with a motorcycle that weighs 600 pounds. If we try to start from a dead stop on a surface like that, then it may not want to go. It may spin or it may stall, but if we can give it a little bit of rocking back and forth, what we call the rock and roll, then we can probably get that motorcycle up on the hill. So come with me, let's take a look and see how it actually looks on the motorcycle. So in the end, you could see, we used the momentum of the motorcycle to get us started up that hill. The first couple of runs were just practice runs, kind of get that rhythm down. You don't really have to rock it 3 times every time you're moving on a loose hill. But you want to get that system down so that it's natural for you to operate the clutch in that way. Then once we're going, we do what we call dancing with the girl what brung you. That's a colloquialism from Oklahoma to say, stick with what works. So that amount of clutch and throttle that you use to get the initial momentum, that's what you stay with as you're going. The common issues with this are people dump the clutch, install it, or they apply too much throttle and they spin the tire and can potentially lose control. So there you have it. That's the loose hill start. Practice and come out and join us for the full breakdown on how it's all done. Thanks for watching. In the failed hill recovery, we're simulating a scenario where the motorcycle, for whatever reason, didn't successfully cross the hill. We stop by stalling the motorcycle in gear, clutch out. Once we do that, there's no pressure. The bike sits there with that rear wheel locked like a parking brake was set. Then we assess, look around, which direction are we going to go? Use 2 fingers on the clutch and very smoothly start easing the motorcycle backwards, slipping the clutch, using that friction zone. Keep the motorcycle predisposed, leaning in towards the hill a little bit. It tends to right itself. It tries to come up when you release the clutch. You don't want to go over the top. Then you can scissor the front wheel, lowering it down the hill until you like your path of departure. Once you do, start the motor. Double check that the motorcycle is in gear, in first gear, that you didn't bump the shifter or accidentally tap it into neutral. And then right away, under control and very deliberately, here's another perspective. Stall the motorcycle in gear, assess, make our decision. Which way are we going to go? Smoothly roll the motorcycle back using 2 fingers on the clutch. And right here is where we start to come into the danger zone. If we're rough with the clutch, the motorcycle might try to right itself. It might try to stand up and go over the top. And where are you going to put your foot? It's the low side of the hill. Once you've gone as far as you can, scissor the front wheel, let it slide down the hill. The steeper the hill, the better this works. Once you like your trajectory, start the motorcycle, double check that you're in first gear. And right away with authority. It's just that easy. Notice the clutch fingers, very, very slight motion. It's not in and out on the clutch. It's not a digital device. It's very analog, very smooth sweeps of movement. You may be moving that clutch 1/4 to 1/2 inch maximum. I hope you've enjoyed this taste of what we do at Overland Expo. To learn more about D.A.R.T, go to Dragoo.com and check out our publications page for D.A.R.T tips, inspirational stories, and a whole lot more. We look forward to seeing you at the next Overland Expo. Thanks for joining us.